We've had a nice little bounce in Avalanche over the last few hours. The bounce actually looked better when I was making the YouTube thumbnail for this video because we were resting above 30, which is a pretty important line, or we were at least resting above this line, 30.7. I guess I could drop that on down to about 30, which is about where we are now. Avalanche has been in this downtrend for quite a bit. And I guess since about December, we have been in this definite downtrend that is completely obvious with just two blue lines. We can see what Avalanche has been doing over the past 4 and 5 weeks. We have a high. Let's see, you can see a low, a lower high, a lower low, lower high, and definitely a lower low. All of this pressure has been caused, well, most of this pressure has been caused by Bitcoin. So we'll switch over and look at Bitcoin here in a second, but look at the price, how we fell on the 22nd, a big red bar, a green bar, down wick, and then finished green. And then today's kind of been bounced around. Take a picture of that. Now let's go look at Bitcoin. Looks pretty much the exact same. A big red bar down. We had a wick down, finished green on this day, and kind of been bouncing around on Bitcoin. So that's my point, that Avalanche and pretty much all of the crypto coins, many of the crypto coins, are following Bitcoin at this point. Just in case you think you are alone with Avalanche, you are not. ADA, definite downtrend. Ethereum, big downtrend. Doge, downtrend just like Avalanche. VET, so forth and so on. Many of these coins are experiencing this downtrend, and that is because of Bitcoin, which we go back to now. Currently, Bitcoin is under 40,000. I was fairly certain about in the middle of January that we were going to go down and tag 40,000, mainly just because we had such a fantastic run up in Bitcoin since October. From here down around 27,000 up to 49,000, just a remarkable run up in a matter of about 2.5, 3 months. Plus the ETFs were approved, the Bitcoin ETFs were approved. We spiked up in around 49,000 after those ETFs were approved. And then there was really just no more good news to be had. There wasn't bad news, there just wasn't any good news. And so we were so extended up in price that it made sense we were going to revert back down toward the mean. And when I saw this pressure, consistent pressure down at the bottom of this channel we had been in for over a month, it made sense that we were going to fall out of the bottom and hit 40,000, which we did. Currently, we rest in this level of 38 to 40,000, this red level right here. And similarly, we are kind of resting in this level of 24 to 30 with Avalanche. We have popped out of the top, but you get the point. Avalanche and Bitcoin are acting very much the same. They have similar downtrends. They have are resting in similar support levels. So a lot of what is going to happen with Avalanche is based on Bitcoin. What do I think is going to happen in Bitcoin? I cannot tell you exactly. It'll bounce up to this level at this day and then down to that level and then up to that and so forth. Nobody can be that precise in their prediction. I do think if we do get a bounce, we will not bounce above this trend line, which would put us around 42,000, 42,500 if we get that high. We may get a bounce to something like this just because we have been, a pretty big fall the last week or two. It wouldn't surprise me to get some relief. But if we do bounce, I do not think that is going to be long-lived. I think we'll end back up into this area, this range right here. And as long as we are in this range and below this channel and all of that, this range of 34,000 to 38,000 is at risk, which at least some that I follow are calling for us to get into this 34 to 38,000 range over the next few weeks and stay there for a bit. Now, some are thinking we will get into that range and then hopefully make new highs in 2024 after the halving of Bitcoin scheduled sometime in April. And we'll just have to see if that happens. But anyway, kind of taking a tangent there. My guess is here we will see 36,000 before we see 46,000 in Bitcoin. That's my guess. I don't think anytime soon we're going to get back into this rising channel, and I think that's necessary before we can start making newer highs. So don't be fooled if we get a bounce here. Lower lows still could be ahead. For Avalanche, the bounce in the Bitcoin that I just mentioned might look something like that. Don't be fooled by it. To get higher highs than Avalanche, we've got to do two things. One, we have to break outside of this channel. Okay, we have to get outside of the channel, whether we go up or out. Somehow we have to get outside of this downtrend channel. Until we do that, we really don't have, I mean, prices aren't going to go up. We're still experiencing downward pressure. Then we have to recapture the level of support, this 33 level, and have to start making price gains above that. When you look at this downward structure that has been created over the last 4 to 5, 6 weeks, it takes time to create that downward structure. It's going to take time to create positive structure, bullish structure. That's just going to take time, and it may not start immediately. We may get down here, find some newer lows and rebase and just do this for a minute, okay? Or longer than a minute, for weeks, maybe even a couple of months. Who knows? You know, timing in crypto is very difficult. So as long as we're in this downward channel, we have to assume the downward channel is going to continue. That's where the downward pressure comes from. And the first step of recovery is breaking out of this channel. If we haven't broken out of this channel, we have do not be looking for Avalanche to go up, okay? And you can say that about any of these coins. VET, I just made a video on VET. Until VET gets above this downtrend, the holders of VET like myself cannot expect any positive price action up. That's just the first step. So don't be fooled by any bounces down here that end us lower and go back up and hit the trend line. You've just got to be patient. We have to solidly get out of this trend line. Look, here's an example. There's a similar trend line on the way up. Something like this. It could have looked something like that. Okay. See how this trend line going up held the bottom of these prices? Well, that's exactly what this trend line doing here is going down is doing, right? And it took a nice, consistent downward pressure, a close outside, then further close. And then you could say, okay, now we're out of this out of this uptrend, and there's a chance we will go lower. That's the same thing that has to happen here. We got to close out above the trend line, stay there solidly for a day or two. Then we can decide if we want to assume that the price is going to go up. So that's the way trends and channels work. I did have one more idea on this. Oh, and what we did here is we had a high, low, a low, and then a higher high, and then we started making these lower lows, okay? And when we got here, here was the low. It was almost equivalent to here. We finally broke that, and that's just generally what's going to happen here. To get positive movement up, we've got to start making these higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, and so forth. Okay, that's my outlook on Avalanche. To summarize, we have downward pressure in this channel. We will continue to have it until Bitcoin gets above into its channel. And so far, I see no sign of that. And getting above this trend line is going to be the first step to recovery. Nothing positive will happen with Avalanche until that happens. All right, that's my update. Be sure to check back. I'll keep you updated with Avalanche and other coins. Take care.